Oh yes, Danhausen here. Very nice, very evil, very famous. Here to tell you that you, hopefully, are listening to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Yes, it is a wonderful mix of wrestling history, discussion, and comedy. Yes, very good. Isn't that nice? Well, anyways, if you're not listening to it, how are you hearing Danhausen say this right now? But nevertheless, if you're not listening to the We Can't Wrestle podcast, you're cursed.
You're listening to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Now it's time for our host, Kate Maxson.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate Maxson, your host, here with you, and of course, I am joined, as always, this week by my brother Aaron.
Hello, everybody.
And we are joined by, once again this week, Mr. Mark Brew.
Yo, 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 yo.
And there will be other folks, I believe, joining us as the show goes on.
It's the holiday, babe. It's casual. Good.
It's Casual Monday.
Come in whenever you want. Archie will probably be eating a burger.
As we're recording this, it is more than likely. As we're recording this, it is the 4th of July. Aaron's sitting outside, so you will hear fireworks going off. And it's a patriotic edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And this week, of course, go ahead.
At least it's fireworks and not somebody's meth lab.
That's on Wednesday, probably. This week we are continuing our journey through the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Top 500 from 1991, the first one ever. Last week we ended the show with Aaron Maxson accusing AWA's Steve Regal of helping Buck Zumhoff groom young men, I believe. So that is not true. That allegation does not stand. And Aaron's looking at me like, what the fuck? You were pretty drunk, and that happened. So anyway. Mr. Steve Regal, if you're still alive, we apologize for Aaron's uncouth remarks here.
Okay. I think his most, legitimate point about it was he was Mr. Electricity, but he wasn't shocked at the actions of his partner.
I got to start listening to our show.
Yeah, you do. Well, we are going to do, as we have been doing every single week since we started this series, we're going to do 90 minutes and see how far we get. If we get 30 done, we get 30 done. If we get 20 done, if we get 4 done, whatever. It's a fun conversation here going through the Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
No preparation for me whatsoever.
Yeah, I just open a magazine and there I go. So we're going to start this week. Last week, Steve Regal, not British Steve Regal. The AWA's Steve Regal was number 182.
Minnesota Steve Regal.
This week, we are starting with number 181. What a fantastic mullet on this guy. Paul Diamond, 6'1", 230, 8 years pro. Canadian is a former pro soccer star. Teamed with Pat Tanaka as Bad Company. Now wrestles occasionally for the WWF. A fine blend of science and strength. I am actually a fan of Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond, the Bad Company, and the iteration of the Orient Express as well.
Yes, and I'm a fan of just Paul Diamond and Jet. Like that dude, like we kind of knocked him on Reliving the Extreme, and by the time he got there, like they were kind of out of place, honestly, and maybe a little I don't want to say past their prime, but just kind of done, but up until then and just in the ring, like that dude could fucking work and Pat Tanaka could work. But they just didn't fit when they were, like I said, like you said, the Orient Express, man, them fucking matches with the Rockers.
Oh, God, yes. Some of the best tag team matches in the WWF ever.
Fucking fantastic. And they had good ones with High Energy, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
No? Yeah.
Well, that would have been, you're right.
Because it was High Energy and then the New Foundation, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because Coco threw the guy through the door and they had to let him go or whatever. Yeah. I think that's how it worked.
It says he was an iteration of Max Moon too.
He was. Yeah.
He was Max Moon because Conan got to the WWF and they were going to make him Max Moon, and then they fired him because he had an attitude and was perceived to have a bad attitude, and they paid all that money for that fucking suit, and Paul Diamond was similar size to Conan, so they put him in the suit. And Conan has gone, and this is, I don't know, do you guys want me to keep rambling about somebody that's not even
maybe we'll get to him at some point.
Okay. It's just the funny thing about what Conan did, and this just cracks me up.
Number 180, Lou Perez, 6 foot 233, 5 years pro, exciting youngster, is the brother of Al Perez. Unlike Al, Lou has competed in purely scientific style since his 1986 debut, a former PWF light heavyweight titleist. I don't know if I've ever seen a Lou Perez match.
I don't know either. It was Al Perez was the Black Scorpion, wasn't he?
He was originally going to be the Black Scorpion.
Yeah, and then he didn't want to do it because he was going to have to job. And they were like, nobody knows who the fuck you are.
Right. Yes. So then, when they started that storyline, they had no idea who it was going to be. And then they landed on Al Perez because I think he had some kind of an interaction with Sting early in their career, so they thought they could make that work. And then that whole thing happened with Al, and then the train went off the rails, and it wound up being the convoluted Ric Flair deal. But
yeah, and nobody's mentioned the fact ever since then that Ric Flair knows black magic.
Lou Perez looks like
Smiley. I mean, he knows black magic.
Yeah, Lou Perez looks like Mark Merrow with Razor Ramon's haircut.
Hey, yo, I'm a bad man. Number 179, speaking of brothers, Vic Steamboat, 6'1", 235, 5 years pro, former ICW champion, is the younger brother of Rick the Dragon Steamboat, has also competed in WCW, strictly a scientific wrestler, Dynamite Flying Press. You know, back in the day, young me thought it was true. I thought Vic Steamboat was actually Rick Steamboat's brother.
A striking resemblance, I will say that.
But Rick Steamboat isn't even the other Steamboat. Like, all these Steamboats came about because they thought the other guy looked like the other guy.
Yeah, their Rick Steamboat looked like Sam Steamboat.
Yeah, Sam Steamboat. I couldn't remember the fucking name. Sam Steamboat. There's Steamboat Willie. He was a black guy, so it didn't really work.
None of them looked like him, but... Anyway, moving on from Vic. Like I said, I just, that back in the day, the kayfabe got me, and I believed the myth. We are joined now by Mr. Archie Mitchell.
What's up, everybody? Sorry I'm late, guys.
That's all right. We've gone through Paul Diamond, Lou Perez, and Vic Steamboat, so you haven't missed much.
Well, I love Paul Diamond.
Me too, but still. Number 178 is DC Drake, 6'1", 256, 7 years pro. Mad Dog is a drooling animal, has held the Tri-State and NWF titles. 5-year feud with Larry Winters ended in friendship. Will use any low tactic.
He was a guy I saw in the book, in the books, in the magazines.
Yes, and I thought, based on just his connections in Tri-State and with those guys around that area, I just think it's surprising that he was not a part of those early ECW days. Along with Larry Winters and Glenn Osborne and that whole bunch of miscreants. I'm just surprised DC, because he actually almost fit the bill more than any of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's just like I said. I don't know if I've ever seen a DC Drake match, but I always remember seeing him in the book. And I keep saying books, in the magazines,
in the books.
Yeah, in the books and the funny papers. But I always remember seeing him, but never. I don't know if I've ever fucking seen him work.
I've seen a couple of his matches from watching whatever of Tri-State I've been able to find on YouTube, but
I'm assuming he was the lumbering north.
No, he wasn't bad. He kind of he wrestled like a Buzz Sawyer style.
Really?
Yeah, like a kind of a mad dog kind of thing. Yeah.
All right.
Archie, Mark, any comments on DC Drake? Any?
I'm in the same boat with Aaron. I remember seeing his name in thousands of magazines on the independent circuit, in different matches and things like that, but I never have seen him wrestle before. So,
Well, judging by the picture here, it looks like he's pissed off and his eyeliner's running. So
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, that's about it. Yes.
Just like Tammy Faye Baker. Oh, we should make a shirt. Remember them shirts they used to have where it was like mascara running down the shirt and it said, I ran into Tammy Faye Baker at the mall? It should be like, I ran into DC Drake at the Goodwill.
He was working there. Number 177 is Tim Horner. 5'10", 235, 7 years pro, combined with Brad Armstrong to win the UWF Tag Team title in 1987. Lightning quick, fares very well in Japan, where there is less of a premium on size.
I'll never discount the fact that Tim Horner was a good worker, but he was bland as fuck, in my opinion. And one of my favorite things is when Jim Cornette let him fucking put that Shameless video on Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And what's his name just went right out of my head. The Money Mark, not the Money Mark, the Money Man for him.
Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin was like, "What the hell, man? Don't ever put that on TV ever again." Like, no.
Yeah, and Tim Horner promos are Jeff Farmer level.
And if you ever want to watch like something just completely horrible, watch fucking Tim Horner's fucking Shameless video where he sings the song Shameless. It's so bad.
I mean, I'd be ashamed if I looked like that in this damn promo picture. Like, literally, it looks like he has on one of the Rougeau's jackets and the Taskmaster singlet. Like he just walked through the locker room. What you got for me tonight, guys?
I'm Tim Horner. I'm here to work. Here tonight.
And then he came out to the Thunder Rolls. It's like, that song's about spousal abuse, you moron.
Right.
You should be coming out in a wife beater.
Yeah. And there's actually a song called White Lightning, and that's your name. Why didn't you use that song, you fucking idiot? You're not White Thunder, you're White Lightning. Come out to White Lightning.
He was a Garth Brooks fan, damn it.
Number 176 is Jumbo Shiruda. 6'4", 272, 19 years pro. Just keeps getting better. Probably the best wrestler on the Orient in the Orient at this writing. A former AWA world champion, the number one draw in All Japan League. And like I always say, I am, as MJF would say, not one of those guys that pretends to watch Japanese wrestling. I am not. I would never claim to be well versed in it. I watch matches and things of people that I hear are really good, but I don't consistently watch Japanese wrestling. But what I will say is, based on matches that people have recommended to me that I have seen of Jumbo Shiruda, the guy was fucking awesome. And again, I'd never claim to be an expert on his career at all, because I'm not a Japanese wrestling guy. But I mean, everything I've ever seen, hard hitting, good, strong, with the King's Road or whatever they call it style, great wrestler.
It seems like, from what I'm reading here, that they teamed him with Giant Baba a lot and Stan Hansen.
Yeah, I think he was one of Baba's
boys.
Yeah, one of his inner circle, in All Japan.
And probably the guy's like, Baba's like, I got the name, but I ain't gonna do the work.
Yeah,
you do the work, and then I'll get the pin. Kind of like when Dynamite talks about having to work with like giant haystacks or whatever. It's like, I gotta work with this fat slob. I'm not saying that Baba was a fat slob, but like that type of thing. Like, I'm gonna work with you so you can do all the work, and then I'll get in there and get the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, he probably trained him, so he's cool. He was happy to do it. Plus, if Baba's like, you're going to be my partner, I'd be like, that means I'm getting main event money.
Yeah, so. I'm getting main event money. All right, sign me up.
Yeah, I'm good.
Archie, anything on Jumbo?
I hate to say this, I've never heard of him before, and I'm a little. I do watch Japanese wrestling, but I guess it was before my time. Like,
Yeah, I mean his peak years were 70s and like late 70s through the 80s.
yeah.
So,
And if you ever stop at the 7-Eleven, get yourself a Jumbo Saruta. Decent drink.
it's got sake in it. Number 175 is Yellow Dog, 6'1", 230, 1-year pro. Sure, it's Brian Pillman, but it hasn't been officially proven. Possesses same skills as you-know-who. Distraction of identity is a hindrance. Should return to his own image. This is, your classic Midnight Rider type storyline that they're doing with Brian Pillman in WCW at this time. Wrestling as the Yellow Dog.
Yeah,
And
but
he literally walked to the ring with a golden retriever.
yeah, what I was going to say was, at least with Dusty, there was a reason he became the Midnight Rider. Nobody forced Brian to go become Yellow Dog. It was just a creative thought. You know what I mean? So
It was
A
Jim
shitty one, but it was a creative thought.
Jim
right.
Herd.
Yeah, it was
Right,
Jim
but-
Herd.
But he also thought of the Ding Dongs.
It's like, listen, Brian, listen. You're going to be the Yellow Dog.
The
That's
Yellow
marketable.
Dog.
That's a T-shirt.
Number two. Don't forget number 2.
Yellow Dog, number 2.
And if you don't like that, I will make you Arachnaman.
that went to Brad Armstrong.
Right, but he
And I would
was
have been
probably
like,
offered to Brian first.
and I would have been like, wait a minute. Isn't that like an insult? Like, oh, you
Yellow Dog, yeah.
Right.
Doesn't work. Why can't I be like a pit bull or a Rottweiler? You fucking simpleton.
They were getting ready to join ECW. That's why.
Number 174, Chris Walker. 6'2", 254, 2 years pro. Newcomer Conan. Chris Walker possesses one of the sport's finest bodies, teamed with Steve Simpson to win the first global tag title. Shocks foes with aerial skills. The guy wasn't awful. He was a bigger dude, the poofy hair and etc.
Van Hammer knockoff.
Yeah, but he was a much better wrestler than Van Hammer. I liked him in Global, and he actually was in the WWF for a bit after this because I remember him seeing him on Primetime against the Warlord and some of the other big guys.
He was the guy that if you were like driving home with your mom and you're like, I want Carrie Von Erich, and she's like, shut up, we got Carrie Von Erich at home. Fucking Chris Walker.
Yeah, he looks like a cross between Van Hammer and the Ultimate Warrior. Like Ultimate Warrior with a build.
I remember him in Global, like Nate said, and I actually was a fan of him in Global.
Me too.
And then,
I like his partner Steve Simpson too. Aaron and I have talked about it. I'm a fan of the Simpson brothers from when they were in World Class, and then went to Global. But yeah, go ahead, Archie. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're fine. But I can't like. Yeah, he was a flash in the pan in the WWF. I don't even think he showed up on any of the main shows. He was more on the syndicated shows.
Well, unfortunately for what I think he was one of those guys that it was unfortunate for him that they signed him and then the steroid trial started.
Right.
And they were like, oh, well, we're going to have to
stay over here.
Yeah.
We're not ready to play with you yet.
He was definitely on the juice.
It's like, you got to go, buddy.
But if that wouldn't have happened, I think he could have been a credible threat to like a Mr. Perfect. Not saying he would have beaten Mr. Perfect, but I could have seen him challenging for the Intercontinental title or losing to a heel Hart Foundation in a tag team match. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, he would have been. Yeah, he would have been on the card. I think he would have been in a position of like a Coco Beware,
right?
That type of star where he's going to beat the jobbers and he's going to beat the other lower level guys. Right. But then he's going to get a match, like you said, against Mr. Perfect, and he's going to lose.
Right.
Well, he beat Pat Tanaka on February 17th, 1992. I know that's a year after this, but
well, who didn't?
And
Mark, who didn't beat Pat Tanaka?
Well, I mean, it says he's beat Tanaka, Kato, Hercules, the Brooklyn Brawler. So I mean, it's not like real notable names, but
Except for Hercules, I guess. I mean, but that was probably Power and Glory Hercules.
He's been a who's that of professional wrestling.
I mean,
Surprised
that
he
was a
didn't-
big match.
Yeah, that was Hercules when he had gotten off the juice and he had like a pot belly and
Right. He was about to go become the Super Invader.
Yeah, I was gonna say he did the infamous thing where he no sold Sid's power bomb. You guys ever see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sat straight back up.
Yep. He's like, fuck this noise.
Fuck this
Right.
That finish is dead now.
no talent motherfucker.
He's
And I'm
like,
not even saying Sid's a no. Like, I like Sid. But I can understand why a guy like a Hercules would be like, fuck this guy.
I'm leaving anyway.
Yeah,
Don't you have some softball to be playing instead of throwing power bombs, sir?
Number 173. This is a guy that I'm sure all of us, again, admitting not being especially, I wouldn't want to say, well-versed in Japanese wrestling. This is a guy that I'm sure all of us have had plenty of exposure to, Masa Chono.
Oh, yeah.
5'10", 235, 7 years pro. Japanese star is was well experienced in U.S. rings, has wrestled the CWA, Continental, and now WCW, partially trained by the legendary Luthez. Masa My Hero Chono, as Eric Bischoff
Kevin
called him.
Nash. Yeah, Eric Bischoff. I must say Kevin Nash, but yeah, they were like Masa My Hero Chono. Chono, he's not. How do I say it? I don't want to say this like disrespectfully. He's not like a Fujinami or whatever. You know what I mean? Like he was solid and he looked great and he had like a good, like aggressive type personality, but he's not a guy that I'm just like, oh man, I've seen him have fucking 5-star matches. And not every guy's like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So that I'm not saying that knocking him. I'm just saying he's not a guy that I would tell people, oh, if you want to watch Japanese wrestling, watch Chono. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I mean he actually, to be honest, he wrestled more of an American style, really.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. See, he had a mix of that strong style, but the American style as well. I guess that comes from being trained partially by Luthez. But I was a mark for Masa Chono when he won the NWA International Heavyweight title, and then we saw him and Muda at a pay-per-view battle for it, and then I think Wyndham beat him for it, or Wyndham beat Muda for it, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I still follow Chono's career. Like he's an announcer now for New Japan, and whenever he steps in the ring and like does a bit with them, like to still show he can still go, I mark out because he was a part of my childhood. I enjoyed, you know, Aaron said he was never known for a 5-star classic, but if you wanted a good solid 3.5-star match, Masa Chono was going to deliver.
And he didn't look at it, and he was a Japanese guy, but he didn't look at a place with somebody like Barry Windham because he was
right.
He was a big fuck. You know what I mean? Like he was a bigger guy compared to like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not.
He wasn't like, small. He wasn't small.
No, and that's you're right though, and that made him. I mean, and we're not talking about people that aren't here, or we're not talking about on the list, but I would say the same thing about Kensuke Sasaki. You know,
right?
Yeah,
he was made to be a Japanese wrestler that wrestled here also.
Right, and I think that's why when they did that whole NWO Japan, that's why guys like Chono and Saito were tapped to be in it because they were okay. They were cool with crossing over the pond and actually wrestling in the United States, where a lot of other Japanese guys were a little iffy because the United States wasn't great at putting over Japanese talent.
Right.
You know, so but with Chono, Sasaki, you know, Muda, those guys were, and Liger, of course. Those guys were like, you know, when we would get them, we were like, oh yeah, we got to do something big with them. You know,
and they understood the American style of wrestling. Like, don't come over here laying it in, dude. Like, settle the fuck down. And he seemed to get it.
Right.
And I wouldn't know for sure, but I sometimes assume that guys that came over from Japan and wrestled good here, wrestled good, and wrestled well an American style and an American ring with American wrestlers are also guys that took the time to learn English.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's all about communication in there. So anyway, number 172 is Steve Dahl, 5'10", 237, 7 years pro, a hot streak for the Pacific Northwest star, holds both the PNW singles and tag team titles with Crush. He and Scott Peterson were the Southern Rockers.
Now, he was also Well Done, wasn't he?
Yes, he was Stephen Dunn.
Yeah. Stephen Dunn,
and Well Done. I can't speak much to his 91 career because I didn't watch Pacific North Wrestling in 1991.
I'm really interested to see what a tag team of him and Crush looked like. You know what I mean? The
Right.
Pretty Boy and the I mean,
the
I'm
Crush
assuming
Dolls.
the Crush Doll. I like that. But I mean, Crush obviously was still Kona Crush at this point. He wasn't Evil Crush yet, so
He wasn't. He hadn't even. By the time this was published, he may or may not have started with the WWF. Well, no. I take that back. Demolition's over, right?
Right
at this point. So yeah, but yeah, Crush is back. He hasn't even become Kona Crush yet. He's gone from the WWF and gone back to Portland, because the WWF I don't think doesn't bring him in as Kona Crush until after WrestleMania 8.
Yeah,
right. Because him and Doink fought at 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like early '92 before Brian Adams came back, and it wasn't this. He didn't team with the Scott Peterson that murdered his wife. Just so you guys know.
No, it wasn't.
Oh God.
Side note,
I don't know.
Peterson thing. There's a sausage company, okay?
Oh God.
Oh God.
It was called Scott Peterson's, and they sold like hot links and all this stuff. And I know this because I sold it. And like when that happened, I looked at that packaging. I'm like, Scott Peterson? I was like, these people, they're in damage control right now. And then like 6 months later, their product started coming in, and it was called Scott Pete's.
Scott Pete's.
Scott Pete's. They were like, we can't call ourselves Scott Peterson's anymore. This guy ruined it.
I don't know. Is it just me though, or does Steve Dahl kind of bear a resemblance to maybe Terry Gordy had sex with a good genetics woman, and this was the outcome?
Not a bad call. Slightly like Gordy. Slightly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just
I'm thinking of this poor Scott Peterson's guy. He's like, I gotta retire. Like,
Nate.
Yes.
I just looked up Crush and Steve Dahl as a tag team on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Crush is still wearing the demolition gear, and Steve Dahl looks like a Chippendale dancer with a little bow tie. So it's like two opposites.
I was going to say they come out to the theme from Odd Couple.
Right. It's like, okay, an S&M guy and a Chippendale doesn't really match up very well.
The 91 version of Magic Mike.
Right. Exactly. Oh God.
we know which one's on top.
Keep crushing it. All right.
Keep crushing it.
Number 171 is Shane Douglas. 6 foot 223, 5 years pro, a fine tag wrestler, teamed with Johnny Ace as the Dynamic Dudes in WCW, teamed with Humongous to win the Continental Tag title in 1988, now in the WWF, which I know at this point he had come to the World Wrestling Federation with the bleach blonde hair and the tan and the bright orange tights, and for all everything I've ever heard, they had plans for him. And then his dad died or something.
His
they wouldn't let him go, and he just went. So it was
seems like that was Shane's MO for the WWF. Whenever he was there, because he does a shoot interview for his Dean Douglas run, and he hurt his back, and Vince was like, "No, we can't give you any time off for your back injury, kid. You're just gonna have to take a pain pill and get over it." And he literally told Vince McMahon to go fuck himself and walked out.
The only thing the only thing I vividly remember from, I shouldn't even say vividly because I don't know. Was he it was the 91?
Yes, he was in the 91 Royal Rumble. Yes.
For 20 minutes, I think. He actually lasted pretty long because nobody got rid of him.
And he had some matches on he had some matches on Primetime Superstars, etc. I do remember also, and I don't remember if you guys remember this or not, but I remember when I was, so how old would I have been? 1981, or 1991 at this point. I'm like 12 or 13. And I remember in the lunchroom amongst my wrestling buddies, at one time they were discussing one of the rumors going around. Of course, this is the same rumor mill that some people thought there were two Ultimate Warriors, but that's a whole other story. The rumor at one point was that at the Survivor Series in 1990, because he had not yet made his debut, Ted DiBiase's mystery man was going to be Shane Douglas.
Wow.
I remember that being a rumor going around that I don't know. It went around school. I don't know if somebody heard it from like a parent that got the sheets or what, but I remember that going around like he was going to be like Ted DiBiase's apprentice. Like that was a rumor.
Now, if that would have happened for like a couple of months, Shane probably would have been hot shit because he would have been with $1 Million Man. But I don't think that would have had the same feeling as with The Undertaker.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You wouldn't have that longevity.
No.
Well,
He
the crazy
probably
and
would have ended up in ECW.
I know we're getting in the weeds here, but the crazy thing about The Undertaker is it wasn't even supposed to have longevity.
Right.
Like they had a 1 year plan for that character. He's going to get built up, and Hulk Hogan's going to beat him, and then after that, he's done. And then Mark Calloway proved that was not what was going to happen. So like if anybody else would have had that gimmick, it probably would have been like 1 year and done.
That's
Fast forward 30 years later.
That's one of my favorite things about him. When he talks about when he signed and he saw that egg and he's like, "Oh my,
oh my God, I'm gonna be the egg man.
I hope I'm not the egg man." Gee, right?
Now that
I'm gonna take the money. I'm gonna take the money, but I hope I'm not the fucking egg man. Oh.
All right? He comes out as the egg. If he would have been the egg man, right? He lasts 6 months and has to call Ole Anderson back for a job in WCW. Like, hi, Ole, it's Mark.
The WWF
the egg guy.
The WWF scrambled me. I gotta.
Yeah. Can I come back and team with Spivey, please?
I didn't get over easy, that's for sure.
But no, Shane, you guys know how I feel about Shane Douglas. I'm a big Shane Douglas fan. Always have been. I shouldn't say always have been. Seeing him in ECW ignited my fandom.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he went to WWF as Dean Douglas, I was like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You know what I mean? And never having seen him cut a franchise promo in the WWF was like, it hurt my feelings. Because I think that promo would have gotten over big in the Attitude Era.
If he would have come into the W, I was going to say, if he would have come into the W, if he would have never done the Dean Douglas thing,
mm-hmm.
and therefore not had his major ass heat in that company,
right,
and would have wound up coming in, say, instead of late 95, coming in late 96,
right.
Could have been a whole different.
Nash and Hall would have been gone, so Michael's pull with the Click wouldn't have been as big. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And by that point, he had already, like, he would have had a few years cultivating that franchise gimmick. Mm-hmm. And Vince is getting to the point where he's about to let people start taking the cuffs off,
Right.
It could have been a whole different ballgame for Shane Douglas.
Imagine if he would have walked out as like Shawn was celebrating at the, a world title win over Sid or somebody, and just been like, cut the music. The whole crowd would have exploded.
Fun fact, Shane Douglas is the only autograph that I've ever surprised Archie with that he didn't know was coming.
That is true. And I have it in my collection, up in my closet in my binder. Mark is the reason I have autograph pictures now, because that was the first one I got, and it got me hooked. Now I have Adam Cole and other ones. So, yes, Mark added to the addiction.
Good job, Mark.
That's what buddies are for.
Exactly. I agree. I ain't mad about it.
Number 170 is, my opinion, one of the greats of all time, the Honky Tonk Man. 6'1", 255, 12 years pro, a deceiving talent, looks like an Elvis impersonator, but enjoyed the longest WWF IC title reign in history, now competing on the independent scene. let me tell you. I'll tell you. Not only was this guy a fantastic performer, not only did he do everything he needed to do to make that gimmick. He's like The Undertaker, not as legendary, but he's like The Undertaker, where he took a gimmick that should have been a flop,
right,
and turned it into a major league thing.
And
he put his whole heart into it.
And he's one of the guys. He's one of the guys that I agree with Raven, talking about how, like Raven talked about, like the top 5 greatest gimmicks of all time, and he put Honky Tonk Man on that list. Like I think he said it was like Taker, Boss Man, Honky. Like, not saying these guys are like the greatest wrestlers ever, but these fucking gimmicks were fantastic. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like Kamala. You know what I mean? Like, is this guy going to give you a fucking 5 or 4-star match? No. It's not about that. It's about the presentation of it. And that's what the Honky Tonk Man was.
And Honky Tonk Man also was a good worker. You know, I mean, you know, but the other thing I'll say about him before I let you guys expound more if you'd like is the last line there, now competes on the independent scene.
He's an independent wrestler.
Yes. Has any wrestler...
He's a live show fucking wrestler.
Yeah, well, not just that, but I'm just saying, has any wrestler besides Honky Tonk Man, I guess I'll talk about like 90s into the 2000s, did any wrestler that was a former big-time pro wrestler really embrace that independent scene like Honky Tonk did?
He said big time. I was going to say, I think Tracy Smothers.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah.
But Tracy Smothers is a fucking live show guy. Like, and I'm not even knocking him at all because he was fucking fantastic, even watching him on TV and shit. But he's a interacting with the crowd motherfucker, and that's the guy that I'd say I'd put on that level. Him and like Ricky Morton.
Mm-hmm.
It's the guy you got to see live. And I know we all appreciate Ricky Morton, but like I didn't appreciate Ricky Morton as much as I did when I watched that guy wrestle at a fucking live event. I'm like, this dude's fucking captivating. And so is Tracy Smothers, and the Honky Tonk Man's the same way. So
you sit there and you smile. Rest in peace, Tracy. But you sit there and you smile because that dude is in that ring and the Staying Alive remix is playing, and he's fucking getting it, man. He's all in doing his fucking shit, and it's great.
He was high as fuck. He was.
Yeah, he was.
When I got his autograph, I wanted him to sign my WCW card from the 90s, and he signed it, and he's like, "What's your name?" I said, "Aaron." And he goes, "Spell it." I said, "ARON," and then he still spelled it AARON. And then I was like, I want you to sign my 8x10 too. And he goes, what's your name again? I said, Aaron. And then he was like, Tracy Smothers to my best friend, Eric.
Oh, God.
Hanging on my fucking wall.
That is funny.
It's hanging on my fucking wall.
He botched the autograph.
He botched
two of them.
Both of them.
Yep.
It was fucking great. Like, Nate and I walked away, and I looked at it, and I was like, he said Eric. He wrote Eric.
My best friend.
Best friend, Eric.
And
the only thing. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we got to experience Tracy and Tommy Rich at the same table.
Yeah.
Buddy, they were fucking yucking it up and having a good old fucking time, and it was great.
And the only other thing I'll say about Honky Tonk Man is he has one of my favorite comments ever. That somebody was interviewing him, and he likes Brett, you know, like he's like talking about Brett. He's like, oh, I like Brett, you know, because he was in Canada, and Bruce gave him the Honky Tonk Man gimmick, and he's talking about the Hearts and how much he loves them and everything. And then they said, well, this is what Brett said about you. And what Brett said about him was that the Honky Tonk Man couldn't throw a punch to save his ass. His punch couldn't break an egg. La da la da 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 da. And Honky Tonk Man's just like, All right, Brett, I understand that. He's like, but who would you rather work with? The honky tonk man whose punch can't even break an egg, or Goldberg who kicked your fucking head off your shoulders, you idiot, and ended your goddamn career.
Not wrong.
Right. Number 169. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
The only thing I have to say about him is you cannot have a conversation about greatest Intercontinental Champions and not include him.
I agree,
Ever.
Mark.
169, Dan Croffett, 5'11", 235, 9 years pro, virtually unknown in the U.S. This Canadian is becoming famous in Japan, teamed with Doug Furnas to win the All Japan Asian Tag title on 3 occasions, none tougher. And, of course, once he got here, we know him as Phil LaFon.
Well, we know him as Phil LaFon in the WWF, but in ECW, we knew him as Dan Crockett.
Yes.
Which never made any sense to me. Like, why the name? Like, what were the WWF hoping for that tag team to become that they felt the need to own the name?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know?
I don't know that, and it's not like they changed Doug Furnas's name. I don't know why they did it.
Like, LaFon's going to be the breakout star, so we're going to change his name, make him Phil LaFon, and the merchandise is going to fly up because everybody wants to own a shirt that says Phil LaFon on it.
But he was a good worker, and they were a good tag.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. It sucks that they came in at the height of Owen and Bulldog's tag team run because there was nobody going to be able to take the belts off of them at the time, so they didn't get the tag title run that they deserved in the WWF.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in that accident with like Sid and Scorpio and all that.
Yes, I actually just covered that on Slice of Time this week.
They said they had to pull a fucking, like, he kept talking about how he was having like his like headaches and shit. Was that in there?
No, the accident just happened on the episode.
He was telling people like after the accident, he was like telling like WWF med people like he kept having headaches and all this shit, and they ended up pulling like a fucking piece of glass out of his fucking head.
Damn.
It's fucking nuts.
It's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right?
Number one.
It also
Go ahead,
says
Mark.
he wrestled in Mexico as Blue Blazer number 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Blue Blazer Lafon.
Dos.
Dos. Number 168 is Mr. Hughes. 6'5", 308, 3 years pro. The bodyguard for WCW champion Lex Luger is a fine wrestler in his own right, competed in the AWA in 1990. Quite speedy for a man his size, needs to wrestle more. On the Reliving the Extreme podcast, we poke a lot of fun at Mr. Hughes. But Mr. Hughes wasn't that bad.
No,
He was
decent.
He was decent for his size. And, you know, I mean, we make fun of him a lot because he's like, Undertaker! I took your Iron Undertaker! And stuff like that. But overall, you know, he's never going to be, it's like we say a lot, he's not going to be your main event guy that's wrestling, you know, Hulk Hogan or whatever in the main event or what have you, but he's a decent big man undercard wrestler.
I enjoyed him as the bodyguard for Luger, and I enjoyed him as a heel. WCW attempted to make him into a face at one point when his glasses exploded after a headbutt. I think it was either Ron Simmons or JYD that headbutted him, and his glasses exploded in his eye and he came back a face. But I always
he did the big cat thing again. And they teamed him up with JYD.
Yeah, but he was definitely a good heel.
Yeah, he was entertaining. Like I can't say I didn't enjoy him.
Let's see if I can pop Nate again. We have a prescription for a B cat.
Listen to Reliving the Extreme for that Easter egg, ladies and gentlemen. Number 167 is Muckin Singh, 6'2", 380, 12 years pro. A shocking change, was known as Norman for 2 years, but has returned to rule-breaking image. Now blasts foes with his bulk, formerly managed by Teddy Long. We all know this is Bastion Booger, Mike Shaw, etc., etc.
Wait a minute, his name was Muckin Singh at one point?
Well, yes, because he actually was Muckin Singh in Calgary. I forget who he teamed with, but they were like an Indian team, but he wasn't Indian. Like he was a white guy who was converted, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Up in Canada, there was a like guru guy There's a whole documentary about it. I don't want to fuck the guru's name up, but he was the guy that started like a cult up in there, and like all these people were joining it, and it was like I don't want to say like a David Koresh type situation, but it was just this weird fucking thing, and there was like heat with like Indian people. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like when,
but he's the farthest from fucking Indian that you can
Right.
get.
it was kind of like when the WWF traded on the racial heat that people had with like Iraqis and stuff like that here. That's what he was doing. And it was, I was never a fan of the guy. And
there's not enough spray tan in the world to make me think that he was Middle Eastern.
How do you go from Mucking Singh to Farmer to what was it, Friar Ferguson?
To Bastion Booger.
To Bastion Booger.
My favorite
was also Norman the Lunatic.
My favorite Bastion Booger story is Pat Patterson talked about it. He said that fucking Mike Shaw walked up to Pat and told Pat, he's like, Pat, I don't know what I need to do. I want to do more here. And Pat was like, you got to conversate with Vince. Like you gotta put it out there. You got to tell me you want to do more. And Bastion Booger, Mike Shaw was like, all right. So we went and talked to Vince, and then Pat saw him a little bit later, and he goes, how'd the conversation go with Vince? And he's like, he fired me. He said, we don't really see anything in you. Like, he was like, what can I do to, like, you know, advance my status here? And Vince is like, nothing. We got to let you go.
Worst advice ever, Pat.
My favorite Bastion Booger moment is always going to be Survivor Series 93, where he teamed with Bam Bam and the Head Shrinkers to take on the Bushwhackers and Men on a Mission.
The four
Love
doinks.
Doinks are us or whatever. Jesus Christ.
It was over with me as a kid. I mean, and I still, to this day, I enjoy it just because it takes me back to that place.
And before we get to number 166, we are joined by the original gangsta of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, Mr. Kyle Army.
Woo!
Oh,
He's doing the Kamala belly. Is it the moon?
We wanted to let everybody know it was the Kamala belly. He's not whacking it.
I'm working to be a tattoo artist. I should tattoo fucking the moon.
Hey Archie, is it the moon belly or the star belly that's worth the most?
The
The
Moon
Moon
Belly.
Belly.
Moon belly. There you go.
Well,
Moon belly? Let's make
Yes,
that
there-
the name of the show. Moon belly.
Moon belly
Moon
Kyle.
Moon belly.
Moon
The
belly
return.
Kyle.
The
Writing
return
it
of Moon
down.
Belly Kyle.
Yeah, no, that's right. I'll take moon belly. I could, you know. I'm sure Sunday,
And you're so drunk right now. You're like,
He's like Norman the Lunatic.
yeah, but yeah.
Hey, Moonbelly Kyle. Ask
Yes.
Nate. He's the booker. Ask him if he's got anything for you. He's gonna be like, nope, and then you're just gonna get released.
Look, I can do a count. I count through. I'm on my plane with my weights.
Number 166 on the PWI 500 here is Brian Knobs, 6'1", 295, 4 years pro, teams with Jerry Saggs as the Nasty Boys, the current WWF Tag Champs, a pure street brawler. Saggs and Knobs are also former PWF titleists, totally untamed.
Until 95, the Nasties were actually a really good fucking team.
What
95 they got lazy. At least Knobs did, in my opinion.
What number are we on?
166.
So, and this is out of what, 500?
Yes,
And fucking Brian Knobs has made it this far.
he has.
WWF Tag Champ.
I understand. but goddamn, it's Brian Knobs. It's not like they talk about Kevin Nash 5 moves of doom. That dude.
Well, actually, Knobs. Yeah, I mean, Sags was the worker of the bunch. Let's put it that way.
But Knobs was the fucking entertainment.
Exactly. My point is, think of everyone that has come before this. You're going to tell me with a straight fucking face that he should be this high on the list.
Well, he should rank above the Equalizer.
And we talked about Lou Perez, so yeah.
You leave Evad alone.
Are we going into the Equalizer now?
No, we already talked about him last week.
Oh, yeah.
Archie, Mark, any comments on Brian Knobs?
I'm not saying a word. I don't want to even get involved in this.
What, about Brian Knobs or the Equalizer?
No, but I love the Equalizer. I don't like Brian Knobs, so we'll just move on from me.
I'm just trying to figure out when he was the terrorist, because it says ring names, the Brian Knobs, and then it says the terrorist.
Probably in the
95.
AWA. Probably in the AWA.
Probably the last time that he ate at Taco Bell.
Right, exactly.
I think Brian Knobs is a terrorist, and they're like, why? It's like, because he's in there blowing shit up.
I want to believe that if Brian Knobs still working today, and he's working some fucking shithole fucking place, they're like, can you just fucking put a mask on and be the terrorist?
I don't want to show my face tonight. Can I be the terrorist?
Can you imagine what a Brian Knobs dump looks like? Jesus Christ.
He's in the stall.
I'd rather not.
Number 165 is Dick Slater. 6'1", 235, 21 years pro. Dirty Dick is back. Teams with Dick Murdoch as the hardliners, a main event star through the 70s, has captured dozens of regional titles. Dick Slater is a man who, through my entire vision of his career, I didn't see Dick Slater in the 70s, so I don't fucking know. But for me, he was always a guy doing a poor impression of Terry Funk.
He did Terry Funk later. And Dick Slater, he's the guy that, and there's a few people I can say this about, but he's a guy that I can say he's a talent, or was a talent because he's dead now. But he was a talent, but he was a scumbag human being. Like Dick Slater wasn't a good person.
Card-carrying member of the KKK, I believe.
No, that was
Really?
Dick Murdoch. No,
that was Dick Murdoch. Sorry,
but Dick Slater basically stabbed his girlfriend and attempted to murder her. Like was Jimmy
Snuka there?
No.
Oh,
if he was, he didn't remember.
Yeah,
right.
But Dick Slater as a person, trash bag human being, as a talent, I enjoy him.
They go on later. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
They go on later to team him with Mike Enos, who was Blake Beverly, and put him over on Booker T and Stevie Ray by DQ. So
they were rough and ready.
Parker. Yeah,
rough and ready.
I was going to say I liked him with Bunkhouse Buck as a tag team with Colonel Parker as his manager. That's
they
was
missed
my
the boat
first time
calling him
seeing
Dick
him.
and Anus.
Dick and Anus. Well, Nate, you said that Dirty Dick is back. That's what she said.
Any final words on Dirty Dick, guys?
Fuck him.
that's how you get STDs.
Dirty Dick has penetrated the territory.
The next one's going to pop, Aaron. 164, Bobby Fulton.
Hells yeah.
5'10", 220, 12 years pro, founding member of the Fantastics, teamed with Tommy Rogers for years, and with his brother Jackie Fulton since 1990. Few can match his blazing speed. I know you're a big fan of the Fantastics, Aaron.
Oh, I am. I think that team is super underrated, and they kind of got lost in the fact that they were around the Rock and Roll Express, and the Rock and Roll Express had more charisma, and I think that team could have been so much more than what they were, and I don't know when Tommy did we already talk about Tommy?
We talked about Tommy Rogers last week. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fucking fantastic. Was fantastic. Not even trying to do a pun there. The Fantastics were a great tag team, and the only thing I think hurt them was they had a career path next to the Rock and Roll Express. Like, if somebody could have got them in a promotion away from them, I think they would have been much bigger than what they were.
See, but here's the thing, because I'm thinking about that a lot, because you hear that a lot where they're like, well, they were in that era. Well, The Rock was in the era of Stone Cold.
It's a different animal.
I just, you know what I'm saying, like, whatever it may be, whether it was because they just, you know, didn't have the drive or whatever to, but
like, I think the Fantastics actually were, and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, shut the fuck up." I think they were a better working tag team than the Rock and Roll Express. I just don't think they had that Ricky Morton charisma, in my opinion. But as a working team, they were better, in my opinion.
Anybody else? Anything on Bobby Fulton?
Well, in the year 1990, it seems like Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers was working all Japan, so I'm assuming they were pretty over with that crowd, and hence why he's so high up here on this list.
And Cornette talks about when they came back, like Bobby Fulton, like he was doing Japan. They were using Bobby and his brother in Japan as well. And when they would come back from Japan, Cornette would have to be like, you guys gotta settle down, because they were fucking knocking people around and shit. It's like, you gotta stop, guys. You're fucking potatoing people and shit, because like he'd have to like talk them down from how they were used to working in Japan, where it's like, I'm gonna
that strong style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just not gonna fly here, dude.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kyle.
I mean, it's funny how they say, like, you know, it's circular. You know, we're essentially going back to the territories with this whole open door policy or whatever. Like, everybody is basically running out to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my God, look what happened with Cody, man. He goes down there, gets whatever he needs down there to be able to come back to the WWE. And let's be honest, fucking Vince is like, here you go.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre did the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta. It's like Cornette says, "How can we miss you if you don't go away?" You know, and yeah, I mean, and that's what these guys were doing then. You know, Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers jumping from promotion to promotion, and these other teams and stuff. It's kind of like we're moving back to that. Hopefully in a good way. Number 163 is this guy double dipped this year in the PW.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I got a problem with this.
But we are still in the era of kayfabe, and I respect the fuck out of that because I miss kayfabe. Number 163 is Kato, 6'1", 230, 1 year pro. Masked newcomer replaced Akio Sato in the Orient Express in 1990. Not much is known about this martial arts master since he refuses to give interviews, managed by Mr. Fuji. And as I said, at 181, when we started the show, we talked about Paul Diamond, who played Kato. Yeah, so we've actually already talked about this guy.
Not much is known about him. We just fucking talked about it.
Well, I mean, there's an accolade right there, though. I mean, he's the first motherfucker to be on the PWI 500 twice in the same year.
So we won't elaborate too much on that because we already talked about the guy. 162, one of my favorites. At this point, he doesn't have that classic gimmick yet, but we're talking about Scotty Anthony, 6'1", 235, 3 years pro, arrogant rule breaker, was formerly known as Scotty the Body, 3-time PNW champion, an exciting blend of speed, style, and power. Big mouth causes trouble. Raven, Scott Levy, one of my favorites of all time.
Yep.
The guy that realized I'm working too hard.
Yep.
Like, I'm working too hard, getting nothing out of it. So I'm going to come up with the coolest fucking gimmick ever.
But whether
Nothing.
What you got to say about one thing you got to say, one of the many things I can say about Scotty, whether it's Scotty Anthony, whether it's Scotty the Body, whether it's Johnny Polo, whether it's Raven, that guy put 112% into every gimmick he ever had.
Without a doubt.
And I mean, a fucking mind like you wouldn't believe.
And that's the thing,
Yeah.
like you said, like he put 112% into every gimmick that he got, but he also put nothing into it. Like he's a fucking walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction. Like every gimmick that he got, he was like, "What can I do less to get more?"
Mm-hmm.
I just give him props because if you can make Scotty Flamingo work, you're a fucking jam.
Right.
Bro.
Right.
And,
I mean, let's face it.
Yeah, just like that dude is a fucking genius. And if he wouldn't have had, I don't want to call him lazy, but if he wouldn't have had the demons that he had and would have had more fucking drive to want to be a mind in the business,
He could have wound up with the WWF booking job.
that's what Vince wanted him to do.
Oh.
And he's just like, that's too much work. Oh, I'm good. Like he said that he would tell, because he had to write Mania.
Yes, which he said took him all of 10 minutes.
Yeah, so he'd write Mania for Pettingill. So he'd write all of Pettingill's shit, you know? And he said Pettingill was easy to write for because Pettingill was like, you know, a disc jockey and knew how to fucking talk and all this. So he'd write Mania in like 10 minutes. And then the studio would call him. So he'd write Mania in like 10 minutes, give it to Pettingill, whatever. And then he'd go back to his apartment. And then the studio would call him and be like, "Hey, you're supposed to be here. Where are you at?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm at headquarters." And then headquarters would call him and be like, "You're supposed to be at the studio." And he'd be like, "I'm at the studio." And he's just sitting at he's just sitting at his fucking house, not doing a goddamn thing. And he's like, "I literally did 10 minutes worth of work and just fucking sat at my house and fucking took pills and shit." And he pulled that off for like a year.
Good on him.
And when he got back after the ECW shit, because Vince didn't like him, he came walking by and he walked by Vince, and Vince McMahon said, "Who the fuck hired Johnny Polo back?"
Yep.
And that's when he knew this is not going to be good for me.
I think a month later he got relegated to Sunday Night Heat.
And did a good job with Heat.
He did.
Like he actually made
Party
Heat
were doing
interesting
good.
for the first time in like 2 years. Yeah. Number 161. Oof. Awesome Kong. 6'4", 440 pounds, 2 years pro. Pulled off an upset by beating Jerry Lawler for the USWA title, but lost the belt after only 1 week. Huge, bulky frame, incredible splash, untamed savage. Him and his big pig-looking, these two big pig-looking gentlemen.
5'6", 427 pounds.
You know who they reminded me of? You know the two fat twins on the scooter in the Guinness Book of World Records?
Yeah, we just talked about that on the show.
That's what they always reminded me of.
Yes, last night, recording Reliving the Extreme, I brought up the Awesome Kongs, and Aaron brought up those fat twins.
The Humphrey twins, or whatever they were called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those guys were terrible.
I mean, I remember seeing them in a 6-man tag. It was them and Vader versus Shockmaster, Sting, and Davey Boy Smith. And like the only guy moving better was Vader was moving fantastic, and the Shockmaster and the Awesome Kongs were like, dude, these guys are moving at a glacial pace.
Well, imagine the day Harley Race showed up at center stage, and they were like, "We have your new proteges."
Right.
And he looks over, and they're both sitting in the corner, hooked up to oxygen tanks,
Eating a donut.
eating a donut. He's like, "What am I going to do with these guys?"
Hi, Harley. Oh, by the way, we're giving you Hercules in a mask, too. His now name is the Super Invader.
And then somebody was like, boy, you got a panty on your head.
Yeah.
Jelly donut. He's like, hey, Harley. He's like, oh, shit.
Not them.
No.
Can I have the shock
God,
master instead?
All
I was
right.
like, how the fuck did I go from Lex Luger to the Awesome Kong?
Number 160. Once again, a name I know. Everything I've ever seen of the clips looks like he was fantastic, but I don't pretend to watch Japanese wrestling. But one of the legends of Japanese wrestling here at 160, Hiroshi Hase. 5'11", 235, 6 years pro, a respected Japanese competitor, competed briefly in Continental area in 1989, a top contender for all IWGP and New Japan titles, knows all the holds.
Knows all the holds.
All the holds. He's
All
the
of
man
them.
of all the holds.
All of them.
I love it.
Whoever wrote that got stumped for words.
Yeah.
You know, all right, what else can I say about it? He knows all the holds. Okay, that'll work.
Number 159 is the guy that Archie and I praise all the time on the show, Hollywood John Tatum.
Yes, sir.
6'2", 236, arrogant Hollywood is best known for introducing Valets Missy Hyatt and Tessa to the sport. Actually has accomplished much more. Martial arts master. John Tatum was a fantastic, it may not have ever worked in like the WWF, but he was a fantastic regional style heel, territory style heel, and doing the crybaby gimmick.
Like an Eric Embry.
Yes.
See, this is where I will agree with you, Nate. Fantastic wrestler, great promo. He knew how to cut a promo straight from the heart. And that meant that when he was teaming with Rod Price, all Rod Price had to do was be the muscle of the tag team.
Yes.
But in the way of the Heavenly Bodies and some of the other teams Cornette was bringing in at the time to the WWF, I don't think they would have been a bad tag team with the WWF. I don't think they would have had longevity.
Right.
But I think for a solid year
like
or
well
two,
done.
they might have, right, like a well done, because they were a great tag team. And at the time, the WWF was taking everybody they could from GWF.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I wouldn't have been mad seeing them walk out on a primetime wrestling.
They would have spent a full year putting over the Bushwhackers.
Oh yeah, more than likely. Or in a Survivor Series match with the Beverly Brothers against I don't know, the Bushwhackers and
the babyface natural disasters.
The disasters, yeah. Can you imagine Tatum doing the crybaby gimmick, sitting under the earthquake, screaming, "Get him off me!"
His balls are on my chin.
His balls are on my chin.
Looks like an anorexic Big John Stud.
Damn, you really gonna shit on a wrestler me and Nate like? Thanks, Mark.
Oh, my bad.
So he looks like the last time we saw Big John. Never mind. Sorry.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Sorry.
Aaron.
Kyle's here to scold Aaron.
I
didn't know him.
Well, I know you know him, but
Who's next?
Yeah, who's next?
I'm not taking nothing away from his in-ring work, though. I'm literally just stating his appearance looks like if Big John Stud decided, screw this, I'm too fat and I'm going to become anorexic.
I'm the emancipated stud.
Number 158 is a man who, at this point, is well past his prime. At one point, one of the most probably charismatic overstars in wrestling. It's the Junkyard Dog. 6'3", 305, 13 years pro. There's a reason at this time that the wrestlers behind his back called him the Junk Food Dog. The popular JYD is still competitive. Age and advancing weight have deteriorated ring skills. Favorite maneuver is the headbutt, a WWF and WCW superstar for years. JYD, you could never take away from Junkyard Dog the
promo.
Well, not just that, but you can never take away from JYD the size of star that he was in Louisiana in the early 1980s. He was as big as any territory wrestler in any territory ever. He was over as fuck.
And I know what you're saying, but that's kind of what I say sometimes is like it's how I say with like a musician. Like, yeah, that musician might be old and he might not be able to perform the way he used to, but he can still put together a song and still be able to sing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not just like, you know, it's funny you bring up musician and song because I was watching a video the other day of, I don't know if you've seen it, but if you get a chance, look it up. Breaks string on stage and proceeds to restring said guitar while fucking singing and still play. So it's one of those things that, yeah, he might be older, but he's going to do things, show you stuff that, like, you're like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't about, you know?
Yeah, like this would have been about the time that Dog got brought back to WCW. And Flair has talked about when he had to work with Dog, it was one of the worst experiences that he ever had working with a wrestler. Like, he was like, after it was done, he was like, that was fucking garbage. Like, I couldn't even get a good job. I couldn't even get a good match out of the guy. But like, when he comes in, the promos are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like where Cornette's like, where have you been? And he's like, I was at 127 Peach Street in
Louisville, Kentucky.
And Jim Cornette's like, that's my mama's house. And he's like, yeah, that's Rob, man. You know, like it was good shit. But once you got in the ring, you're just like, ugh, it's not good anymore.
So what I don't understand, maybe it was just him. Like, you would think somebody, W or like Vince would be like, hey, so like the whole Taz thing, like, you don't have to fucking beat yourself up. I just want you to sit here and fucking be you on commentary.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know. I just
Dog lost a step and got fat and had demons. I mean, I'm just gonna like he was. Yeah, I don't want to shit on the guy. I want to talk about JYD being fucking awesome. So I don't want to talk about 91 Jim Junkyard Dog.
You know, you had mentioned that Flair was bitching about he couldn't get a good match out of him or whatever. But I'm wondering if that is because, you know, they planned for him to drop the title to JYD, the NWA World Heavyweight title. You know, maybe he was bitter because, you know, he felt like that was his fucking spot. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and then to just show you like how over, like he's over in the South in the 1980s.
Yeah,
America, not a fucking friendly place times, you know, and for that over.
And that's what I've told and talked to Nate about this before. Bill Watts kept wanting to find that next black star, and that crowd wasn't like. That crowd was like, look, we didn't like JYD because he was black. We liked JYD because he was fucking awesome.
Yep.
Like, we didn't care that he was black. We cared that he was fucking cool. Another one bites the dust and all that shit coming out to that. It's like, that's what we liked. It wasn't that he was an African American guy. It was that fucking JYD was fucking cool.
They liked him because he wasn't no jive turkey.
He could have been a Filipino. We would have been into it.
Number 157 is Johnny Smith. 6', 235, 9 years pro, younger brother of WWF star Davey Boy Smith, has yet to prove himself in U.S. rings, competes in Japan as member of the new British Bulldogs with the Dynamite Kid.
I don't think he was a legitimate brother of Davey, but he was a good fucking worker. I watched some Johnny Smith matches, and he was good.
It's just a shame he got paired up with that the new.
Yeah, that never works.
Oh.
Well, in '90, he was in All Japan a lot, from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, he wrestled in Japan. He didn't do a lot of the States. I think he was mostly Japan and Canada.
Yeah.
What's crazy is they was doing the whole him and Dynamite Kid thing.
But Johnny Smith was a good worker.
156 is Buzz Sawyer. 5'11", 240, 11 years pro, a bloodthirsty maniac, Mad Dog. 80s feud with Tommy Rich is the stuff of legend. Last seen in WCW under the management of Gary Hart, a trainer but not officially retired. Buzz Sawyer.
Stupid finishing maneuver name.
Refresh my memory.
He did like a Superfly leaf, and he called it the Jam Sandwich.
What's stupid about that?
It's stupid.
It sounds so fucking terrorizing.
I'm going to hit you with my Jam Sandwich.
All he needed was a partner who had a finisher called the peanut butter or something like that. It would have been perfect.
Peanut butter, and jelly.
Called the PB and J connection. Works.
In the '90s, it seems like they were teaming him a lot with Kevin Sullivan and the Great Muta.
Yeah, he was in Kevin Sullivan's. What was it? Butcher. What was it called, Aaron? But not Butcher Shop, or was it Butcher Shop? It was like Kevin Sullivan, Cactus Jack, Buzz Sawyer.
Yeah, and they wanted him. They had Sullivan running this butcher shop, but then TBS was like, "You can't have blood," because they were wearing aprons. They were like, "You can't have blood on your apron." Because that would be considered violent.
So then they come down the ring looking all sanitary.
So Kevin Sullivan was the owner of the cleanest butcher shop ever.
So
he didn't have any customers.
Didn't that lead to a lawsuit though from Abdullah the Butcher?
I'm sure. Abdullah the Butcher's always trying to fucking angle a buck.
They're like, why are you
Larry?
why are you pressing charges, Larry?
Kiss the ring, bitch.
Take your side boob and go. Number 155 is Rip Oliver, 6 foot, 245, 15 years pro. A reigning hero in the Pacific Northwest, spent the majority of his career as a rule breaker before changing his ways in 1989. Father of young Larry Oliver. To be honest with you, I haven't seen enough Portland in my life to see a lot of Rip in Portland. However, I have seen a lot of Rip in World Class, and I mean he was a decent. What's that? WCW. But
sorry, I got. Go ahead. Sorry, I got a guy. I thought about Rip Morgan.
Oh yeah. Well, I Rip Oliver was a decent worker, but I can't say that I've seen enough about him to give my honest to God judgment on him. So
yeah, I'm not gonna rip Oliver here today. So no.
Judging by the picture, he looks like Luke Gallows with a Ric Flair wig on.
Number 154, a legend in the business, Ivan Koloff. 5'11", 249, 30 years pro. Russian will always be remembered for his upset of Bruno Sammartino for the WWF World title in 1971. A top competitor for 3 decades now, slowing down. Ivan is
awesome.
And here's what I'm going to say about Ivan Koloff. And again, I'm not a guy because I was born in 1978. My prime years for wrestling were 80s and 90s. I'm not a 70s wrestling guy. But what I can tell you of what I have seen of him in the 80s and early 90s, I would say he's one of the most unselfish wrestlers of all time.
Yeah,
He put people over, younger guys. He developed younger guys. They would pair younger guys up with him for a fucking reason. And this guy was a fucking pro.
yeah.
Well,
And sorry, one of my, and Nate, you might know what I'm talking about. Like, he beat Bruno. He was the guy to get between Bruno and Pedro.
And I don't want to cut you off, but as for us modern wrestling fans, just to put it in perspective, Ivan beating Bruno was the equivalent of Brock beating Taker at WrestleMania 30.
Yeah, and then he
Right,
went.
it wasn't expected.
He went and had that fucking match with Pedro Morales where he put Pedro over, and it's fucking fantastic. Like, you could put that fucking match between Pedro Morales and Ivan Koloff on a fucking pay-per-view now, and people would be like, that's the best goddamn match on the fucking show. Like, he was fucking great, and he had two careers. He had that 70s career where he was big as fuck and was jacked to the gills, and then got into the 80s where he wasn't like, I have to be the main star. He was the guy that's like, I'm going to get Nikita over off of my name, and I'm going to get Barry Darso over off of my name. Do you get what I'm saying? Like he was a guy that was kind of like how Heyman describes like Terry Funk when he was in the he was in the ECW locker room of, I can get that guy over. Well, I can get that guy over. Like you were saying, he's not selfish.
He's a pro.
He was the guy sitting in the NWA locker room saying, I'll work him. I can work him. I can get something out of that guy. And I don't have to go over because I'm fucking Ivan Koloff. You know what I mean? That dude, he was really fucking good.
Think about, like, and to put it in my terms, it's like Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a guy that, for all intents and purposes, probably shouldn't have gotten, but because he's so unselfish, like, here, we're going to let you win this, and we're going to give you this fucking moment.
Well, and not just that, Kyle, but you said Mick Foley, and I compared it to Mick Foley because Edge, Randy Orton,
Triple H.
Look at all the people that Mick Foley was unselfish for and got them over and put them on the map, And yeah, you're absolutely right. A fucking pro.
I got no holes in the game of Ivan Koloff.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, is he in the, and I know people shit on it, but is he in the WWE? Is he even in the legacy part of it?
I don't think so.
Seems like in the 90s he was doing UWF and All Japan.
He was even in the early, very early ECW.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You know what, honestly, they should start doing on the programs is just having just once every show, just be like, hey, here's a spotlight on this former wrestler. Here's a fucking 2-3 minute clip montage of why you should care about Bruno Sammartino, why you should care about Pedro Morales, why you should,
Maybe one day when
they get their head out their ass.
When the old man is dead. But anyway.
They won't do that now because it's like, wait a minute. Look how good this fucking Ivan Koloff was. Why should I care about fucking Happy Corbin?
Touche. And no, as a big injustice, Ivan Koloff, out of everybody that's in it, is still not in the WWE Hall of Fame.
It's fucking stupid.
It is.
I love me some Molly Holly, but Molly Holly should not be in there before fucking Ivan Koloff.
Well, number 153 in this PWI 500 is Derek Dukes, 6'2", 235, 5 years pro, currently wrestling in the IWA. Made headlines by losing a boxing match to former football star Mark Gastineau. Actually, an excellent young competitor in wrestling ring.
I don't know who this is.
Fuck him. Let him eat fish heads. I don't
You
know.
want me to sum it up for you?
Please.
It's fucking Prince on steroids, except for he's darker.
Prince on
He's
steroids.
like, you asked for Purple Rain.
Maxwell?
You asked for Purple Rain. I got Lavender Mist.
So he's Prince, but bigger. So he's Maxwell. I always feel like somebody's watching me, guy.
Yeah.
All right.
Number 152, Kevin Sullivan. 5'10", 252, 20 years pro, the sport's most purely evil mind, wrestles while managing the crazed one-man gang, started career as a WWF favorite, but psyche snapped in the early 80s. He is warped. What can you say about Kevin Sullivan? He is, love him, hate him, whatever. He's one of the most influential players in the 1990s in professional wrestling.
This is what I'll say about Kevin Sullivan. I didn't mean to step on anybody. I was never the biggest fan of Kevin Sullivan in the ring, but his gimmick and his mind can't be undersold. Like that dude is a fucking wrestling genius, in my opinion. And like I said, I've never watched a Kevin Sullivan match and been like, "Ooh, mind blown." But psychology and just being able to look at the big picture and be like, "This is what we're gonna do." It's perfect. Like he's let Eric Bischoff say what he wants to say. Kevin Sullivan was the guy to be like, we got to make Hogan a heel.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody else ever in their fucking mind said, let's make this guy a fucking heel and see what happens.
This guy is a guy that is, even now, really don't quite know what to think Kevin Sullivan. Is he? Isn't he? Did he? Didn't he? You know what I mean? Like, it's amazing how this guy has been able to keep up this. Because now, if Kevin Sullivan comes on a podcast, you're going to fucking listen.
Yeah, listening to him talk and listening to him speak is enthralling. It's captivating. And Aaron, as far as matches go, I agree with you. I haven't seen a lot of stuff where I say, man, Kevin Sullivan, that was the best shit on the card. Except his team with Jack.
Yeah.
And his matches with Benoit.
Yeah, and that's honestly not him. It's kind of like what I talked about with like Baba. He looked at a guy or a couple guys in the card and was like, I can put myself with these guys and they can do the heavy lifting and then I can just kind of support it. You know what I mean? And I can say this. I don't think that WCW 96, 97 NWO shit would have ever happened if Kevin Sullivan wouldn't have been around. Eric Bischoff wouldn't have the fucking nuts to fucking pull the trigger on a heel fucking Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
It never fucking happened. Like, he was the guy, like, you know, when you watch, and I don't, like I said, I don't want to besmirch anybody that's gone, but all that shit that, like, Mike Graham says that he was like telling the Bischoff, it wasn't fucking Mike Graham, it was Sullivan saying you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, you got to do that. Like, he was the reason that WCW became what it was, in my opinion.
Thing I respect about him is he always thought outside the box and he brought some shit from left field that you were fully, like Nate said, you're captivated by it.
Mm-hmm.
like he's gone on. I've heard interviews where they've talked to him about that Dungeon of Doom stuff, about being hokey and dumb or whatever, and he knew when he was doing it that this was hokey and dumb, but all he was doing was making Hogan feel comfortable.
Yes.
To be able to say, okay, you're comfortable now. You're invested in this company now.
Look how I've taken care of you.
Look how I've taken care of you. Now trust me to get you to this next fucking level of being able to be a fucking heel.
And the funniest thing about it, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's watching him fumble through it. Because at first, remember, like Hogan's got like the Phantom of the Opera mask and the big sword and shit. Yeah. And that was their first try at it, and it's like, ooh, this is bad. And so Sullivan's like, all right, back to the drawing board. Okay,
yeah, that was drizzling shit.
Yes, we're gonna do this differently.
Look how fucking cool you looked in black, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Look how cool you looked.
But just like any good booker or anything, he left something for himself, and I wish it would have panned out better because, like, I can't remember what it's like. One of the 2 or 3 nitros after Hogan turns to the bad side, fucking Sullivan comes out and he's like, Hulk Hogan. He's like, I don't give a shit about what I've done to everybody else, but for me, I was supposed to kill Hulkamania, and you fucking took that from me.
Yes, and that's a cool promo. That's a cool ass promo. And yeah,
I was a Kevin Sullivan fan until he killed Chris Benoit and did all those bad things.
All right, Archie.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm
you
kidding.
Conspiracy theorist, you.
I'm just kidding. I'm only kidding.
With your foil hat.
That, like I said, you watch videos of that man. He can't hardly walk. He's fucking beat up from the years. And you really think he had the fucking skill to fucking do that?
If he had a towel and ether, no, I'm kidding. Again, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. No, Kevin.
It's all right. It's been many years since that happened.
Kevin Sullivan, I think my favorite Kevin Sullivan feud and what it led to was the feud with Brian Pillman and the strap match that never happened when Brian ripped off the strap and said, I respect you, Booker Man. And then we never saw him in WCW again. It was the catalyst
that's the classic example of working yourself into a shoot.
Right.
Well, I believe wholeheartedly that fucking Sullivan had to have to do with that.
Well, number 151 and 91 is Jim Brunzell, 5'10", 234, 19 years pro, another dropkick master. Formed the High Flyers with Greg Gagne. The duo held the AWA World Tag Titles twice, 1977 and 1981. Currently an independent star. Of course, they don't have it listed here, but he was also one half of the Killer Bees.
Why isn't that listed? Yeah, I don't understand.
It's kind of interesting, but that's not.
And listed. What about Mass Confusion?
It's because in the 90s they were shitting on him.
Well, he was also Mass Confusion with Jim Brunzell in the UWF.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine fucking spend all your fucking time learning how to be a pro wrestler, all the bullshit you got to go through, like you do in anything, to get there and be like the massive shit. Be like, God damn,
son of a bitch.
I mean, I'm not pretty enough for the television.
It's like they brought the fishbowl with gimmicks around and shit, and he reached in and he was like, "Can I draw
You're
again?"
a cop. You're a cop. You guys are going to be some dogs. You guys are into S&M. You're a bee.
You know how you know you're fucked? Like when you're getting introduced to the ring, like, here's Paul. Oh no!
Oh no!
Murdered.
Or back in those days when you were already in the ring when the real star was coming out
with a sparkly jacket on.
Yeah.
Every jobber owned a sequin jacket for some reason, you know.
And it would be some like I was like a fucking perm and stuff.
They all got him on loan from the Italian Stallion.
And they always had the name like Handsome Jimmy V or something. You know what I mean? Like they,
Yeah.
and there was always the fattest, ugliest, sweatiest guy in the room. Like,
what?
why?
But you know what though? Bobby Heenan would get those fuckers over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Like,
He'd get those ham and eggers over. So we're going to do 3 more, guys. Then we're going to sign off for this week. Number 150. This one will be quick because I don't know jack shit about this cat. Ricky Rice.
Oh.
6'1", 230, 4 years. 4 years pro. Former AWA Stars dropkick is unsurpassed. Defeated Jerry Lynn to win the PWA title. Recently competed in the WWF for the first time. Bad attitude.
He used to team with a guy named Frankie Beans. Together, they made the classic tag team of Rice and Beans.
Bismonte.
Beans and rice.
Beans and rice. No, I have no
That
idea.
shit wouldn't go over now.
God damn
No,
it, his
wouldn't.
friends should have been red beans. So it could be red beans and rice.
But then Popeyes would have sued them.
Did you guys ever see that? Did you guys see the skit a couple of years ago that Chappelle did on SNL?
dude, I was thinking
About-
the exact same thing.
When I said Bismonte, it reminded me.
Yes.
Do you guys remember?
That-
Did you see that when he's playing Count Chocula?
Mm-hmm.
Have-
He doesn't play Count Chocula.
Oh no! Yeah, no. Yeah, Pete Davidson plays Count Chocula.
they have
Chappelle plays the Allstate man.
and he's,
Yes.
he's like, look, Aunt Jemima, we have to let you go. We don't feel comfortable. And she's like, well, if I got Uncle Ben,
Yeah, Uncle Ben's like,
God
But-
damn it, woman, why?
God damn it, woman! Rice is all I know. White rice,
Yeah.
yellow rice, Bismonte. That's so
Yeah, like-
fucking funny.
That was a complete Dave Chappelle written
Yes.
fucking
Oh, had to be.
skit.
Gold. It's gold, Jerry. It's gold.
You know, honestly, like I felt like that episode on Saturday Night Live, that was his like Carlin moment.
Well, he is the modern Carlin.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, that opening monologue,
Mm-hmm.
I just God, it's like you're enthralled the entire time.
Well, number 149 on this PWI 500 is Mr. Doug Gilbert. 5'11", 230, 3 years pro. Younger brother of Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, much bigger and stronger than Eddie, has made a great career strides in 91, calming down after years of evil.
What is it? Like family in wrestling that like makes or breaks a talent.
Well, I think it's a number of factors, you know, like a lot of times you have the different personalities, you know, the different personality traits. Like Eddie, we obviously know Eddie was not, what do I want to say? And I don't want to, I'm not trying to besmirch anybody, as Regal would say. But Eddie Guerrero had his demons, or Eddie Gilbert had his demons. So did Eddie Guerrero, but Eddie Gilbert had his demons. But when he was in the building, when he was working, he was able to keep that shit under control. Doug was not like that. Doug was a fucking firecracker, you know?
Basically,
You can tell by the picture.
Like, you ever seen that shit with Doug in USWA?
What do you mean?
You ever seen that shit, guys?
Yeah, I have.
He went on live fucking TV on the USWA and went into business for himself and was like talking about behind the scenes shit. And he's like, I'm out here trying to do my job, and Randy Hales is back there just smoking crack and just like and fucking why'd his name just drop out of my fucking mind? Lance Russell's buddy.
Dave Brown.
Yeah, Dave Brown's like, oh no, like no, we can't do this, you know? Like, oh my god, like it's just like, duh, like Eddie knew how far to go, but Doug had Eddie's mentality, but no filter of okay, I can't go. If I go this far, then I'm going to burn bridges.
It's like the Maxson brothers.
Yeah, I'm the Doug Gilbert of this shit.
Shit, that means I'm going to be dead and you'll still be alive. Fuck.
Well, it says here that he did Freddy Krueger as a gimmick too. I'm wondering if that's that match that synonymously went around with him versus Leatherface.
Probably.
Yeah, because they did a fucking they shot on that company too. It's like when you got them Gilbert brothers together, they just fucking could not control themselves. Like Chad talks about when they were in ECW together, and by the time they fucking left, Eddie was just selling his shit. He's like, I'm gonna sell my boots, I'm gonna sell my tights. We can get out of here and just be done with it. And fucking Doug was like, I'm gonna start breaking monitors and shit with a baseball bat. It's like, fuck, you escalated it. Like it came back to where we might be able to come back, but then Doug is just breaking shit with a baseball bat. It's like, oh my god.
Because that's what you do when you leave.
Now we can't come back.
If you had a boss like Paulie, wouldn't you?
Right.
So your parents are Jewish lawyers. You can afford this.
All right, let's do two
Apparently
more.
not.
What, Aaron?
Let's do two more.
All right, two more. 148. Here's a legend. God fucking damn it. Coquina Maximus. 6'3", 340, 7 years pro. The biggest Samoan wrestler ever. Failure to stay in one federation for anything resembling a lengthy period of time has hindered his development, currently in Mexico. And we know that Coquina Maximus is going to become Yokozuna.
Yes, sir.
And
One of the best big men ever.
And I was going to say, I don't want to say no right. Had no, like, that dude shouldn't have been as good as he was for the fucking size that he was. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No
way. No way. You see that guy, and they were smart, too, when they first brought him into the WWF. I know we're not talking about that. We're talking about 91 and him as Coquina Maximus, but when they first brought him in, they even made him kind of work reserved, you know. They made him, you know, just act like a sumo wrestler and don't do too much but by the time he's the champ and all that, he's doing drop kicks and taking well, that and these and not just what he's giving, but what he's taking, like amazing bumps for a guy his size, insane bumps for a guy his size.
Not only that, but like imagine just the force that he's hitting that fucking mat.
Right.
What that does, you know.
Like, could you imagine being the guy? Could you imagine being the guy? It's like, okay, I'm going to lay down on my back, and this fucking guy is going to get on the second rope and splash that fucking ass onto me.
Right. And I'm trusting him to catch his weight.
Yeah, it's like, it's fucking nuts how talented that motherfucker was. And I don't want to say that he doesn't get enough credit because he gets a lot of it.
But he didn't for a long time. And I was going to say that. That's actually one of the things I was going to say. I was so happy when they brought out that documentary about him.
Yep.
because for well over 15 to 20 years, he didn't get the credit that he deserved.
No.
And go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
It's kind of like the Vader thing where it's like, oh, he couldn't get his weight under control, and it wasn't, just depends, I guess, on how they are with the company.
When they bring you whole chickens at a fucking time, you're not gonna get your weight under control.
I remember being a kid renting a Coliseum video that had on the front of it said Yokozuna's workout, and I was like, okay, this should be interesting. And Yokozuna's workout, it was Mean Gene Okerlund sitting at a sushi table with Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji while they fed him pounds and pounds of rice and sushi.
Mm-hmm.
And Mean Gene looks at Mr. Fuji like, this is a workout for him? Oh, yes, my Yokozuna need to eat at least 45 pounds of food at every serving so he can maintain his weight. Now, as a kid, that was like, wow, that's awesome. As an adult, I go, fuck, why were they doing this?
Look at all those carbs.
Archie.
And then speaking of Ron,
that's my earliest memory of pro wrestling, was seeing that.
Right. Yep.
And then speaking of Rodney Inoue, the man, like Rikishi talks about how he had no fucking money, and he was telling Rodney, he's like, Rodney, I got no money. They're gonna cut my heat off. My kids are in here, and those are the Usos. He's like, I have nothing. And then he said he got back off the road, and he got home, and his fucking water was on, and his fucking lights were on, and fucking Rodney paid for it. Like that dude was upstanding.
He took care of everybody.
He took care of his people, and he was a fucking class act as a human being, and as a class act as a fucking wrestler. Like that dude was fucking fantastic, and like I could talk all day about fucking Yokozuna, and I know we're not talking about him when he became Yoko. Right. We're still talking about like him, and I think this would have been him in like AWA, I think, right?
Yeah, AWA in New Japan. They were in AWA. He was doing single stuff, but in New Japan, he was teaming up with Samu and Vader.
Damn, him and Vader as a tag team.
Well, and I think too, like I said, a lot of it for a long time was it goes back to like Bret Hart talking about like, oh, he went into business for himself and ended the match early, and it's like, imagine being in that moment where not only are you winning the title from Bret Hart, but then Hogan is going to come in, and now you're going to go work with Hulk Hogan.
Right.
Yeah, and you've been in the company for like maybe 6 months.
Right.
Oh, and by the way,
biggest name you worked with was throwing Macho Man out of the Royal Rumble.
Right. And by the way, next month you're going to beat Hulk Hogan for the world title. Now, right. Shenanigans involved, but like Jesus, that's.
And that may have quite honestly been what led to a lot of his downfall. The too much too soon kind of thing.
Yep.
Right. Instead of doing a slow burn, they send him to the rocket. Send him to the moon on a rocket ship.
All right. Any more on Yoko?
I wish him and Owen Hart would have had a longer run as tag partners.
Like, yeah, they were the perfect mix.
Can you imagine them like in 90, 93?
You brought up one of my favorite things is when he's introduced as the mystery partner for Owen Hart at the WrestleMania 11, and fucking Yoko's walking up the steps, and Owen's just like hugging him. Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, I don't do nothing now. I'm definitely gonna win this match." Yeah. That's good shit.
And also, don't take away from his reign as champion. He was the first, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know I'm not. He was the first ever dominant heel champion the WWF ever booked.
Yeah.
Before him,
right.
it was all. There's a big baby face chasing a heel champion. He's going to get the title in short order. And they went to the moon with Yoko as champion.
Yeah, there's
Maybe
only one I can
Savage.
think of. Well, I was gonna before because Savage was a face for most of his title run.
Right.
The only one I was gonna say was probably Billy Graham.
And he was only champ for less than a year.
Yeah, I know, and I was gonna say that it was about a year with Graham, but he was, and so I'm not discounting what you're saying, but I'm just saying that's the only guy I can think of as like a heel champ that I can think, and Graham was different because he won it a lot on like fluke finishes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the best example of Vince McMahon looking in a situation and going, yeah, I know we have Bret Hart here, but there's so much more money right now in the Yoko.
Mm-hmm.
And changing his plans,
All right, one more. And then we'll wrap it up for this week. Let me see here. Oh, man, I said it last week, but I guess I'll have to say it this week again. We're almost to the color pages. Right now, we're still in the black and white. We're almost to the color pages.
You're just leading us on. This is all a big tease. We're never getting to the color pages.
It's gonna be fucking blatantly.
There wasn't any color in 1991.
It was just the back cover and the front cover.
Blood was banned in both major companies, so yeah, there was no color.
Right.
147. Pat Tanaka. 5'10", 236, 6 years pro. Young Japanese star has been part of 2 fine tag teams. Tanaka and Paul Diamond held the AWA World Tag titles in 86. Now a member of the Orient Express with Kato, who is also Paul Diamond. Pat Tanaka, fantastic tag team wrestler.
And the originator of the Goldberg theme song.
Hey.
In WCW.
Yes.
Archie made it like you wrote it.
Well, no, but he used it.
Pat Tanaka, great wrestler, great composer.
Great composer.
Yeah.
Right up there with John. Right up there with John Williams.
Yes.
And Beethoven.
It's Pat Tanaka.
I was a Pat Tanaka fan, I guess. I mean, the Orient Express were always like the opening match on every pay-per-view.
But they always tore the fucking house down, man.
Yeah.
Right. It's like when we were talking about the Nasties. It's like when we were talking about the Nasties, you can put them with anybody, and then you're still going to get good shit out of them.
So, yeah,
I
have no problem with Pat Tanaka.
I got no hate on Pat Tanaka, except the fact that he's full of his own shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only shit that I got with him is the latter years where he's doing that Goku dude shit. Like, what the fuck is that? You're a Dragon Ball Z character now, motherfucker?
Well, hey, if Paul Diamond could become Max Moon, why couldn't he become Goku?
Tony Schiavone's like, Pat Tanaka in the ring. Pat Tanaka's like, Kame.
I don't know anything about Dragon Ball Z. Where are you guys saying?
You know what?
About Dragon Ball Z?
You know what? One of the most racist things wrestling ever did that I still think is so fucking hilarious was when they would have like Kai and Tai come out and just fucking go like tirade, and then you just hear Indeed.
Yeah.
One thing I'm glad the WWF never did was have Juventud Guerrera come out on a lawnmower. Glad they never did that, right, Kyle?
You sure about that?
I'm gonna have to ask you to please fucking put that back. Very fucking old because goddamn.
Look, Kyle, the Kyle Juventud connection is the longest reigning throwback in the history of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And for those of you that don't know, that may be
Go back
newer
and watch.
listeners or what have you, there was an episode of this show, I think it was like episode 6 or something, where Kyle said, man, I wish Juventud Guerrera had worked for the WWE. And he will never live it down.
That's not the number one thing. The number one thing, Nate, is your fucking Kenny Omega.
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
It was fucking first episode.
Kyle,
Yes.
Kyle, you not knowing that Hoovy worked for the WWE was Mexi cool of you.
I don't know.
It was super crazy, man.
It was definitely psychosis.
I didn't get UPN.
I didn't give you. That's actually a really good excuse. Oh. All right, back to Pat Tanaka.
Anything else on Pat Tanaka?
Oh,
I
actually,
don't know.
Nope. What?
actually, no. I sometimes I could get it. The fucking planets align, and I could.
Oh my god! I didn't know what we were talking about for a second.
Pat Tanaka was a good worker, but he has a high opinion of himself. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And my thing is would we really have even been intrigued as much had they not been managed by Mr. Fuji? That's a good question.
You might be right.
Good question, boy-san. Good question. So that being said, this week around, I'm going to let each and every one of these fuckers pitch their own shit. I'm not going to do it for you. Kyle, you don't have shit to pitch because you don't have your own show yet.
I have something to pitch, though.
All right, so we're going to start with Kyle. Kyle Army, pitch your shit.
I would like to do a little call to arms for a friend. She is basically, she's a mom who is trying to win a contest with Maxson to become a cover girl. You go to her Instagram, it's Poppy Moon 44. Like, she's a good friend. I've known her for almost 15 years. She's one of those good people, man. She deserves, like, she's in the running for the top 15 right now. So, do a little call to arms, man. Help make someone's fucking dream come true,
Give the Instagram one more time, brother.
Poppy Moon 44. Like I said, man, I'm all about, I want to give, like, people, it takes nothing to support people, man. Show each other love. Let's fucking, we're in this together.
Mitchell, pitch your shit.
Yes, sir, Mr. Maxson, sir. This week on If You Smell What the Earth Is Cooking will be an all WWE themed show. We'll be talking about Money in the Bank and NXT's Great American Bash, as well as what's been going on in the WWE with Vince McMahon and his whole $3 million fiasco, and now possibly being called a rapist by the first female ring announcer in the WWE. So look for that dropping probably Sunday or Monday afternoon.
Mark Brew?
My statement is of course, listen to Mark's Indie Spotlight. But if you're not listening to the rest of the shows on this network, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Like, if you are having a shitty day, turn on Reliving the Extreme. Turn on A Slice of Time with all of us idiots. I mean, I promise you, there's going to be something on there where you're going to fucking chuckle. If you don't fucking get your 7 chuckles in listening to anything that we do, you're missing out.
You're not living.
Right.
Right.
Aaron, it's your turn.
Apparently give the Kyle's Instagram with Big Poppy Pump or whatever her name is.
Oh God.
But other than that, listen to Reliving the Extreme. That's my favorite fucking show. I don't listen to it because I live it. It's the funniest goddamn show on the fucking any podcast streaming app you go onto, Spotify, fucking Podbean. What are the other ones? Fucking iStream, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Apple Podcast. Fucking get on there and listen to Reliving the Extreme. That's my fucking brainchild. That's my favorite show. But also listen to
one of the best ones.
Go ahead. It's not one of the best ones.
It is the best one.
It's the best one.
I know. But, I mean, where else are you going to get the point of view from the perspective of somebody who is a worker in one of the 3 biggest companies at that time?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's fucking fantastic. Reliving the Extreme's great. Slice Time's great. Indie Spotlight's great. If You Smell What the Arch Is Cooking is great. Listen to all those shows, and the one thing that I would ask is that listening to it is fantastic, but rate it and put comments on it, because that's the only way that shows get up the pecking order. So I don't care if you guys say, I love potato salad. I don't give a fuck what you comment. Just comment and rate it. Give it a 5-star rating. All of the shows, all of these guys put a lot more work into their shows than I do. And just help them do the heavy lifting. I don't care if you guys rate my show. I don't give a fuck. I just like talking to you.
I will say, don't comment that you love Bug Zoom Off, because that's going to start some shit.
No, Mark.
Don't say anything about Bug Zoom Off. Please don't say anything about Bug Zoom Off. Unless it's defamatory. If you wanted a defamatory Bug Zoom Off, I'm all about that. Because he's a fucking piece of shit. No. But what I'm getting at is, guys and gal, because there's probably like one lady that listens to this show. Probably that Billy Ann Wolf. She probably listens to our shit.
Mandy M. Pesci, Billy Ann Wolf.
Yeah, Mandy listens.
A couple others. Yeah.
All I'm saying is, please rate and comment on our shows. That way we can get it up the ladder. I didn't mean to babble. But I want to
please.
Huh?
Kyle called to arms. Yes, vote for his friend to be on the cover of Maxson. I'm calling to arms that everybody go on Aaron's show's Facebook and comment, I love potato salad tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and get Poppy Tulo over for Kyle.
What's the deal with the potato salad? Why?
Apparently, Aaron wants people to comment, I love potato salad, so that's what they're going to comment on.
What I'm saying is, I don't care what they comment. Just comment.
And if you comment, it will get us up.
Ooh.
Oh, that's what you said.
That reminds me of that banana cream pie Cat Williams joke. Potato salad, bitch.
You know what my favorite
Why is me trying to say something positive about all of you guys becoming a fucking premium?
Because you said, and I quote, if you guys comment, it will get us up.
It will. It'll give me a bit of a stiff if somebody's like, "Hey, your show's good." I'm like, all right.
I think it's funny. I think it's hilarious when Cat Williams talks about his friendship with Shaq. Then he's talking about Shaq's dick, and he takes the mic, and he's like on top of his. Anyway,
You know,
Cat
this is
Williams.
ridiculous.
like
The everyday I'm hustling intro.
Yeah, Nate, you can't get me fucking 10 beers in and be like, give us a plug. Like, I don't know what the fuck to say.
Well, we certainly
Just
didn't
freaking
expect
like
you to
I
talk
love
about
potato salad, obviously.
Yeah.
Just don't be fucking lazy and click a fucking button, you morons. Just click a button.
Mandy and Billy, if you could do me a favor, ship Aaron potato salad.
Yeah, just click up. I don't want fucking overseas potato salad.
They don't live overseas.
God.
I don't want over the river potato salad.
It's not going to spoil by the time it gets there.
I just
Shut
said
up.
Don't put
potato
dry ice.
salad. I just said potato salad.
What
I'm a
is
fucking
is that like
moron. I
pretend
can't-
potato salad? All right, we're getting
No.
freaked out again. We're about to
I
start
said
cursing buses.
potato salad. Dear fucking Lord.
All right, I'll do the sign off. Ladies and gentlemen,
Potato salad is what I said.
Nate,
All the
now
ver-
you know better. Handle all this.
Yeah.
Please.
all the verbal vomit you've heard
Wait,
at the end
hold
of
on.
this show this week.
Potato salad.
I said potato salad.
The
I'm
fuck?
insulting myself now. I'm going to rib
pretty
myself.
Kyle, if you don't know, that's
Great.
pretty potato salad. Potato salad.
God damn it! You can't
When
just
I,
words.
you know, what's great for me when I hear, and this is absolutely no slight on Mark or Archie or anybody else that joins us. But when I hear Kyle and Aaron argue, it's just like, it's gold for me, Jerry. It's
I
gold.
know.
It's
I
gold,
know it is.
baby.
I know it is. That's why Kyle needs to be on the show more.
But anyway,
I'm trying.
This is what I did tonight.
I'm trying.
You guys see it?
I'm trying.
I'm sitting here. Listen. I'm sitting here with a and
You killed Nate. Are you happy?
because I had to take the family to fucking Cedar Point Saturday.
It's Monday.
And I got called out by older workers to go on a roller coaster, and I was like, "Oh fuck yeah, I'll do it if you do it."
the desperation with which you said, "I'm trying."
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Keep swimming. Keep
That's what
swimming,
Aaron
Corey.
said when he was in the corner with Kimberly and Evad was watching.
Well, and that's the fucked up
I'm
part.
trying.
I'm
That's the fucked up part, guys.
Stop
No,
making eye contact.
No. If I was in the corner with Kimberly, I wouldn't have to be trying.
Is somebody making macaroni and cheese?
but I'm telling you right now. Listen,
Oh,
hold on, just hang on. I've tried to fucking stop swimming and just sink to the bottom. I'm so goddamn fat, fucking buoyant, and I just float to the top.
Who lives in a
Maybe
pineapple
exhale
under
on the way
sea?
down.
I'm just trying to figure out what potato salad is.
I told you it's pretty potato salad.
I
It's
feel like a fucking moron because I said potato salad. Like, I'm mad at myself. Like, I want to retake. Listen to everybody's
Guys.
shit and fuck potato salad.
You work.
Oh,
You work in a goddamn grocery store.
oh God.
Hey, I don't understand.
Huh?
Salad every day. I'm sure you've had the fucking inventory.
I've never had a stock potato salad before.
Oh, because there's no such thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, this
I
is
feel
what we do
I
every
feel that
recording.
potato salad is potato salad pretending to be macaroni salad.
That's what I was going to say.
Or ham salad.
Pretending salad.
You can't write a
Pretending.
script this good.
No, you can't.
I've drank a lot, guys. I'm sorry.
Take us out, Nate.
Thank you for joining us, everybody, this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Again, like these guys have stumbled through this week, check out all our shows here on the network, and any one of them that you listen to, you will not be disappointed. The We Can't Wrestle podcast, Mark's Indie Spotlight, If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking, The Year That Was, Slice of Time, and Reliving the Extreme, and more shows to come when I don't know if I can make 27 hours in a day. We will have more shows. But that being said, everybody, thank you for joining us this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. We will see you next week as we continue our journey through the inaugural PWI 500.
And if you don't like the shows, eat a dick.
Right, with potato salad.
With potato
salad. With your potato salad, with your side of Persater salad.
Oh, that was absolute murder.
Persater salad.
Mary.
Maybe Moonbelly Kyle can't be the name of the show. It has to be Persater
salad, yeah.
Wait, Moonbelly Kyle in his potato salad.
I am at fucking 12 beers now. I'm not gonna remember any of this.